We'll bring this meeting, Peterborough City Council for December 1st, 2025 to order. Councillor Hickey is joining us via Teams this evening. Does any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest at this time? Not seeing. The next item of business is registered delegations. It's a very special honor for me to ask Chief Laurie Carr to come forward. Bonjour, Ine. Welcome, welcome, Chief Carr. If we could have your name and address for the public record. And we're very pleased you're with us this evening, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Miigwech. Ani atikto dam ajajakto dam megaze kwetishnikas, Lori Noswin, Michisaki, Anishinaabe, and Dow. Good evening. My name is Laurie Carr. I am Chief for Hiawatha First Nation. Miigwech, Mayor and Council, for this time on your agenda and welcome me here today. It is an honor to speak with you about your path toward truth and reconciliation. Today, I speak not only for myself, but carrying the voices of our ancestors, our families, and our nations. In 1964, the Treaty of Fort Niagara was made between the British Crown and numerous nations. Its meaning is to establish a renewed and expanded alliance known as the Covenant Chain, which was rooted in peace, friendship, and mutual respect. This treaty was about sharing so your ancestors and mine could live a good life, and we as the descendants of these ancestors take on this continued role. Just recently, Michisagi pottery was found dated 10,000 years. This tells us that the non-First Nations people are just a small part of our history here in what we now call Canada. But I must remind us that the impacts of colonism are not ancient history. And First Nations and Indigenous peoples continue to experience the harm caused by residential schools, forced relocations, and systematic discrimination. While these truths may be newly understood by many non-Indigenous people, our communities have carried them for generations. Acknowledging this truth is essential for reconciliation to move forward. I want to recognize the steps that the city has taken so far, including the important role of the Indigenous Relations Advisor. This position helps ensure First Nations and Indigenous voices are respected and included in municipal decisions, and it reflects a commitment to building trust and better relationships. But I must also stress truth and reconciliation is not about checking boxes. It's not about symbolic gestures. Reconciliation is built and based on sincerity, humility, and meaningful action. I urge the city to continue ensuring that every action taken leads to real systematic change. Building trusting, respectful, and collaborative relationships with local First Nations and the urban Indigenous community is essential. This includes honoring your obligations to consult, inviting First Nation voices into planning and decision-making, and ensuring engagement happens early, not after decisions have been made. First, I would strongly encourage all elected officials and staff to complete Indigenous cultural competency training that is trauma-informed, land-based, and developed with local First Nations. Second, when I walked into City Hall tonight and I saw the beautiful red dress honoring missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit, I was moved. I recommend that the dress remain in the lobby until May 2026 and that the city commit to finding her a permanent home where she can continue to educate and honor all those we have lost. Third, the city's intention to embed Ojibwe language, Anishinaabe we say, in public service spaces. Seeing our language visible is a powerful act of reconciliation and identity. I encourage bilingual signage, interpretive displays, and naming initiatives that recognize local First Nations and treaty history. I also look forward to strengthening relationships between all 7 Williams Treaties First Nations in the city through ongoing collaboration, regular meetings, and shared projects. I want to highlight a missed opportunity, however. The new Veterans Crosswalk outside City Hall should have the recognition of Indigenous veterans. I encourage the city to consider adding Indigenous representation, and I commend Mayor Leal for recommending that Indigenous veterans be honored at the memorial in Confederation Park. I also want to acknowledge the positive actions the city has taken. the Dress Day Memorial and Flag Raising Ceremony, the Every Child Matters Memorial, now respectfully laid to rest inside City Hall, the city's support for Every Child Matters event at Armor Hill, the new procedure for reporting vandalism and hate-motivated incidents, and a plan to honor Indigenous veterans. These actions show heart, willingness, and respect. As we move forward, I encourage the city to continue embedding First Nations knowledge in policies, programs, and services, and to support Indigenous public art, stories, and teachings throughout the community. Truth and reconciliation is not a destination. It is a relationship that is built through action, respect, and honesty. So tonight, I say chi miigwech for your leadership and your ongoing commitment to this work. Miigwech. Thank you.
Miigwech, Chief Carr, thank you very much. And there may be some questions. Questions for Chief Carr? Questions? Laurie, thank you very much for being with us this evening. Truly
Miigwech.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know. The next is a series of delegations dealing with the bylaw with the DBIA. The first individual we have is Deanna Gutman, please. Deanna? We could have your name and address for the public record, and you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Welcome.
My name's Deanna Gutman, and I live at 581 Harvey Street, Peterborough.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor Leal and members of council. My name is Deanna Gutman, and I'm a small business owner in downtown Peterborough and a member of the DBIA board. My shop, Needles in the Hay, has been on Water Street for nearly 16 years now. I'm not someone who usually speaks in rooms like this. I'm more comfortable working behind the scenes, dealing with suppliers and making sure my staff have what they need to be successful. But I felt it was important to be here tonight because of what happens to the DBIA affects all of us who wake up every day and open our doors on these streets. I want to share a simple perspective, not from a policy expert, not from a lawyer, but from someone who lives, works, and cares deeply about this downtown. Our DBIA matters. It matters because small business owners don't have teams of people who can advocate for them. We don't have lobbyists or consultants. Most of us barely have time to eat lunch. The DBIA is our support system. It's the place we turn when something isn't working, when we have an exciting idea, or we just need someone to help us navigate city processes that can be confusing or overwhelming when faced on our own. Having that place to go is part of what keeps us going. In the past year, we've finally started to feel like we're part of something progressive and stable. We've seen the city and the DBIA communicating better, solving problems together, and trying to move in the same direction. For small business owners, that kind of relationship gives us comfort. It gives us the confidence to invest, to renovate, to hire one more person, or to take that small risk. That's why this bylaw feels unsettling to so many of us, not because of the money, but because of the signal it sends. As a town ward resident, I'm deeply disappointed that councillors would be involved with a bill that threatens the autonomy of the DBIA. Over the past couple of years, we've watched organizations disappear, economic development, EC3 and others, and every time something is dissolved, it ripples through the community. It makes people wonder what's coming next and whether the things they rely on will still be here tomorrow. The bylaw as written would require the DBIA to ask the city for money that it is legally entitled to. This would absolutely diminish the DBIA's autonomy. It is exactly this autonomy that makes the DBIA agile and able to respond to the needs of downtown. All of this makes me wonder if the DBIA is the next in the list of organizations to disappear. I know the city is trying to find efficiencies. I understand that budgets are hard and especially difficult right now. But losing the DBIA as an independent entity and not just a vestigial arm of the city, which is essentially what the bylaw would turn the DBIA into, would be a decision with deep, long-lasting impact. Because the DBIA is woven directly into the day-to-day operations of hundreds of businesses like mine and the lives of thousands of residents and visitors. The DBIA works because Noor and the team are close to the ground, because they listen, because they understand the small, practical things that make a big difference. It's successful because they have the agility to make changes on the fly based on what's actually happening in real time. The DBIA doesn't need additional council oversight and red tape to keep working. It already undergoes an in-depth annual financial audit. The city approves the DBIA budget, and the city approves our board of directors. There's no practical benefit to anyone for the DBIA to ask the city each time it wants to buy office supplies from brands or it wants to fund a promising new project. We need stability, predictability, and strong staff like Noor and her team to make our vision for downtown a reality. My hope tonight is that you can see this from the point of view of the people who are directly affected, the small business owners like me who don't have a lot of buffer when uncertainty hits. So I'm asking respectfully that you consider that this bylaw represents and what it risks, and that you choose the path that keeps this partnership strong. Please rescind consideration of bylaw 25-126 and let's move forward together. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Deanna. There may be some questions for you. Questions for Deanna. Thank you very much. Oh, did I say one over? No. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sasha is next. Sasha. Sasha, could we have your name and address for the public record? And you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Welcome.
Sasha Leisfurk. Can you hear me? Sasha Leisfurk, 379 George Street North. So
Please proceed.
good evening, Mayor Leal, councillors, and city staff. I'm Sasha, and volunteer chair of the DBIA. Tonight, I want to speak openly. Over the past weekend, many people have asked the DBIA whether we would appeal this bylaw if it passes. And the answer is yes. Not as an act of defiance, but as an act of responsibility to the businesses we serve and to the integrity of the settlement agreement. I truly hope we never reach that stage, because tonight is a chance to choose a clearer, more collaborative path. To council inside this chamber, a bylaw may seem procedural, but beyond these walls, among the downtown businesses, this bylaw landed as a threat to the DBIA and to the people they rely on every day. Because while a bylaw may be administrative, business owners don't live on paper or in processes. They live in the reality of thin margins, safety concerns, and competition. The DBIA exists to provide that kind of support only a community-led organization can. And we can only do that with agility and autonomy. To the councillors and staff who reached out, thank you. I know you try to reassure us that nothing changes, but to us that simply isn't true. The bylaw clearly removes the DBIA's authority over funds specifically entrusted to us. This is not permissible under the Municipal Act. Good governance is not about finding loopholes. It's about honoring commitments, respecting autonomy, acting transparently, and protecting public trust. It changes a settlement agreement, and by these standards, this bylaw fails. It changes a settlement agreement without consultation, and that is not procedural action, that is structural overreach. And it is clear this is no longer about budgets, this is about authority. Because if the intention was truly operational, I'm sure the city would have many other tools available, tools that would not require overriding a community-led organization, contradicting a settlement, or rewriting a governance structure. Instead, the city chose the most extreme tool, the assumption of power. And that choice carries real implications. Because once a city assumes a power from a DBIA, it sets a precedence for this council, for future councils, and for every organization that partners with the city. It tells them your autonomy is conditional, your authority exists when it is convenient, your agreements are secure until they're not. The DBIA is not a municipal program and it cannot be treated like one. BIAs exist because a province understood that downtowns thrive when the people closest to them, the business community, have a real say. You might be able to bring a department like the zoo in-house. You can restructure water services and economic development, but a BIA is fundamentally different. You cannot municipalize a community. And Peterborough's DBIA is a community institution, embedded in every storefront, every event, every street, and forever evolving. It is the heartbeat of the downtown economy, often invisible, always essential, And when the heartbeat stops, the downtown does not slow down, it goes into crisis. Remove our independence and you divide the city. Right now, the DBIA has new leadership, new financial discipline, and real momentum that will be essential as the city approaches major milestones, the Alto high-speed rail, the event center, and critical infrastructure renewal. This is not a moment for control-based governance. This is a moment for modern partnerships. So tonight, I offer a suggestion. Pause this bylaw and let's start fresh with a modern partnership model, a shared table where city staff and the DBIA align priorities before any structural or financial changes are considered. Because modern governance isn't about winning or consolidating control, it's about aligning around what is best for the community. So before you vote, I ask you to consider, as the downtown grows and reshapes itself, which model will better serve the future of the city? An archaic control-based model or a modern partnership model? And if you believe in progress, this bylaw cannot stand. But my real worry is this. If the bylaw passes, we both lose because we will have successfully divided the city over what began as a $150,000 line item. And when you step back and look at the opportunities ahead, it becomes hard to understand why we would jeopardize our partnership over something so small. We are bigger than this, and we are most certainly better than this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sasha. There could be some questions. Questions? Thank you very much for your presentation. Nor Masalam is next. Nor, please. Welcome, Nor. If we could just have your name and address for the public record, and you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation.
Thank you. Noor Muslim, 270 George Street North. Good evening, everyone. My name is Noor Muslim, and I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Business Improvement Area, representing over 400 businesses and property owners in the core. I'm here to speak to the impact of Bylaw 25-126, which proposes to shift control of the $150,000 annual casino settlement funds that were committed to the DBIA until 2037. I also want to acknowledge the people behind our work. Our team is small, but their commitment is enormous. We are not a large department with unlimited resources. We are 3 full-time staff and a handful of seasonal employees who on the regular work evenings, weekends, and holidays to deliver events, respond to issues, and support businesses. There's no paid overtime. There's no paid additional compensation, just a commitment to the businesses that we serve. When the funding is stable, we can support at that level of dedication. When funding becomes uncertain, it becomes harder to retain staff, harder to plan, harder to keep up with increasing demands placed on our organization. In 2026, we are not increasing our payroll. We are also not increasing the business levy. We know how difficult it is to run a small business, especially right now, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And I want to speak about the businesses themselves. The people behind the storefronts, we know them by name, we know their kids, their pets, their worries, their deadlines. We know who is struggling quietly and who had someone quit unexpectedly and who's working 7 days a week just to keep their doors open. We know who just celebrated a milestone, who just signed a lease, and who is taking a risk on a new idea. These relationships are not transactional. They're built over coffee chats, late night phone calls, and walking these streets every single day. When something happens downtown, a break-in, a burst pipe, a last-minute event need, we are the ones who show up first, not because we're required to or it's because our mandate, it's because we care and the trust is there. Our work is deeply local, personal, and immediate. A community-led organization like the DBIA succeeds because we live the day-to-day reality of downtown alongside the people that invested their lives and livelihoods here. This $150,000 is not discretionary, it's strategic. It keeps our total budget just above $500K a year, which is the threshold required for many federal and provincial grants. If this bylaw passes, our budget drops under $500K a year, and suddenly we are disqualified from opportunities that bring new investments to Peterborough. These funds allow us to meet matching fund requirements, a standard condition for many grants. A recent example is our peterborough.ca website funded through RTO8. We secured that funding only because we could demonstrate matching funds. It required us 5 days to demonstrate that we had those matching funds. Though that website now supports businesses daily through its directory, community events calendar, and online store. If this bylaw passes tonight, these are the things that will be impacted. Window space, special events, mac and cheese festival, snowfest, Halloween, holiday in the borough, vibrancy project, new murals, business support grant, member professional development, and the borough gift card expansion into digital, some advertising and events, and the community event support grant. Every event, every support program, every beautification project we do is tied to this fund. If this passes tonight, it fundamentally changes how I can lead this organization. We lose stability, we lose grant eligibility and matching funds. We lose the ability to plan multi-year projects, and we lose the ability to respond quickly to the needs of the downtown businesses. And I also want to speak personally. I moved to Peterborough because I saw the potential. As a young professional, I believe this was the city where I could build a future, where growing talent, new ideas, and modern approaches were not only welcome, but needed. When the long-term commitments can be changed suddenly without consultation, it sends a message about stability. And to people like me who chose this city because of its promise, Peterborough has momentum. We all feel it. And I want to keep believing in that momentum. So I'm asking you today to vote against bylaw 25-126, not because policies should never evolve, but because decisions of this magnitude require transparency, collaboration, and consideration of long-term economic impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nor. Questions for Nor? Councillor Burke, please. Councillor Burke.
Yeah, Mayor Leo, thank you. And through you to Nora, thanks for coming. And also thank you to Sasha and Deanna who have spoken previously, and everyone else that's coming forward on the list. Nora, you and I had some good conversations in the last few days about this. I was actually talking to you on Friday for the first time. I was shopping at the toy shop on Charlotte Street for a birthday present. Little downtown plug there, but I think it's important to recognize, and the feeling that I get is that the DBIA was taken so off guard by this because of the positive work that has happened in the last 3 years between the DBIA and the city, and sort of like fine tuning some of those gray areas that had existed, creating more of a flow for communication between city staff. And I've certainly been on both ends of that and seen the benefits. And I'd also just to say the town ward councillors here are not going to be supporting the bylaw. We're going to be voting against that. But my question to you is around how this was communicated to you, because it felt to me like there was lots of opportunity in the ways in which you're connected to Daryl Julot and other staff that you talk to on a very frequent basis. How is this decision communicated to you, and did it take you off guard?
Nor, please.
Yeah. So it's communicated to me sometime last week, just before the agenda, but I was told by the person who communicated to me that he has not read the bylaw and he's not sure about the language. So then when I had questions, like there were no answers, it was just like, wait for the agenda to come out. And I was like, well, I'm off that day. Like, should I not take the day off? And he was like, oh, nothing to worry about. And then I look at it, I was like, oh, this is significant.
Mr. Chair, to Nora, please. Was there, when you did get a chance to read the bylaw on Thursday, was there an opportunity to connect with staff and have your question? I imagine you had a lot of questions reading that. Was there a chance to talk to staff and hear from them what the rationale and reasonings were to do this?
Nor, please.
Yeah, a little bit. It was, I was told it was about tightening up the books, and it was an easier way to have transparency over the money. However, that said, our auditors are chosen by the city, and according to another bylaw by the city, that we have to get audited by Baker Tilly.
I think we use the same accountants for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Rial, please.
Through the chair to Nor, how is the partnership between the DBIA and the VBIA going?
Nor,
It's,
please.
thank you. It's going great. Actually, this is something that we've been working on, is to have a new bylaw with the city to amalgamate fully in the new year.
To the chair to Nor, the reason I'm asking that question, because this not only impacts the DBIA, it impacts the VBIA, which I am the counselor, along with Councillor Burke, or Councillor Baldwin for Ashburnham. So I'm interested in this here because it impacts our downtown.
100%. Yeah.
Nor, please.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Duguay.
Thank you, Mayor Leo Noor. Thank you for your important attendance this evening. I should have, perhaps I should have asked this question of the previous speaker, but I'll ask it of you because I'm certain that you and Sasha have been chatting. The chair of the DBIA, Sasha, in her remarks, talked about a shared table. And if I want to make sure I understand that the willingness to work with the city, continue with the good relationship we're enjoying. Is that what Sasha was speaking to insofar as budget and the beautification and security matters that are spoken to in section 3 of the settlement agreement? Is that what she was referring to?
Yes. Thank you. I believe so, unless Sasha would like to come back and answer that question. But yes, we would welcome the opportunity for all of us to meet and work together on those initiatives.
Thank you for that clarification.
Councillor La Chica, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you to Noor, thank you for coming this evening. And it was great to hear from all the delegations from the business community and from the DBIA. Sasha, thank you for your remarks. You know, my ward mate has just spoken about all that you bring to your membership, and truly an organization like BIA's that provide for the needs of the members based on that immediacy, based on that relationship, based on that understanding of what makes a business work. That truly is a certain scope and expertise that is very specific to what your training is and the professionalism that is the BIA. So, you know, I see the strength of BIAs in other communities, you know, having lived in Toronto, and how those BIAs make for very distinct communities that thrive. So you have the 100% support from your ward councillors. And my question to you, Noor, is because this has been so swift that it's come and you've had to absorb it, how many businesses have reached out to you since learning of the bylaw coming forward in tonight's agenda?
Nor, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to say over 70 businesses have reached out. Others haven't directly reached out, but they've been vocal on social media.
And thank you through you, Your Worship. That really speaks to the massive work and support that you bring that is unique, that the city cannot provide, because that is not the scope of what we do. Thank you very much for everything. Thanks.
Councillor Baldwin, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. Through you to Noor. Noor, can you describe the dialogue that you've had with the city of Peterborough since you've taken on the role as executive director?
Nor, please.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a positive dialogue. I don't think there's a day that, except for the last 3 business days, I don't think there has been a day where I did not contact or meet with a city staff to whether it be events, issues related to parking. I get a lot of parking ticket issues. I forward them to the appropriate people. So like it'd be events, road closures, emergencies that happen downtown. I'm in contact with city staff, I'd say daily, except for the last 3 business days because it's been awkward.
Through you, Your Worship, to Noor, you describe a relationship with our city staff that you've now described as, almost daily or every couple of days. I'm a little bit surprised that there hasn't been any type of consultation with you and or your executive leading up to what we're discussing tonight. I just find it a little bit unusual. There's been, in your words, very little, if any, consultation. I did get an email a little while ago, day or so ago, saying that there was consultation done with either 2 or 3 people of our staff, that either you or your board had met with a couple of folks. Can you confirm or deny that for me?
Nor, please.
Thank you. It was a call It was a 20-minute call. And it was on Tuesday, and I was just told that this is happening. When I asked questions, they said they haven't seen the bylaw. They don't have answers.
That's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you, your worship. Thank you, Noor.
Councillor Bowl, any further question? Councillor Crowley, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. Thanks, Noor. It was great talking to you Friday night. You gave me a lot to think about. A couple of questions for you. You say that you do an audit daily, or sorry, yearly. You do an internal audit. Do you provide those results to the city?
Yes, so thank you. After every audit, we submit it to the finance team here at the city. We are required by our bylaws that we do.
And through you, Chair, does it give a detailed breakdown of where that settlement funding has been spent?
Noor, please.
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Burke for a second time.
Thanks, Mayor Leo. Through you to Nor. Nor, do you remember, it stayed with me during the budget week when Councillor Faciliadis actually really pointed out the benefit of having that money administered through the DBIA, not the city. He spoke to that very, in a way that I understood, and that stuck with me. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Please.
Cool. Just wanted to get that out there. Thank you, Councillor Vasiliadis. A question I have for you, I'm sure that you and your legal have looked at the bylaw. There's a section of the bylaw that talks about any bylaw or resolutions of the DBIA pertaining to the exercise of the assumed power are deemed repealed or amended. Do you know what those other agreements are?
Noor, please.
Thank you. I can look into them. I think they would fall under our bylaw and the legal settlement agreement.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Noor? Noor, thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
Next, Alexandra Pyle, please. Alexandra. Welcome, Alexandra. If we could have your name and address for the public record, you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Welcome.
Alexandra Pyle at 135 Charlotte Street. Good evening, members of council. My name is Alexandra, or many refer to me as Allie Pyle. I'm an investment advisor at CIBC Wood Gundy and a member of the Downtown Peterborough BIA board. I've been on the board for just over a year, and in that time, I've had a front row seat to the meaningful work being done to strengthen our downtown's economic future. Coming from the financial sector, I approach things with an eye towards responsibility, planning, and the thoughtful use of resources. Over the past year, I've watched the DBIA become increasingly accountable and intentional about how funds are managed and how decisions are made. Every dollar is weighed carefully, and every initiative is discussed in terms of its value for business owners and the community. While some outcomes can be measured quantitatively, much of what we've seen this year has been qualitative in nature, the kind of real-world feedback that speaks to impact just as strongly. We hear from businesses who are seeing more activity, from visitors who comment on the improvements, and from community members who recognize that downtown feels more energized, more connected, and more cared for. These are important indicators that the work is making a difference. Because of strong planning and responsible budgeting, the DBIA was also able to avoid increasing the levy this year, even at a time when operating costs are rising everywhere else. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because of disciplined financial decision-making and a commitment to supporting our members while still looking ahead. I've also seen real effort to position the DBIA for larger economic partnerships with the city. We want to continue to the bigger picture projects that help attract investment, support local businesses, and enhance the visitor experience. The groundwork being laid now is what will allow the DBIA to play a meaningful role in future city building initiatives. To do this effectively, the DBIA needs to maintain its autonomy, the independence that BIAs across Ontario rely on to manage their budgets, set priorities, and respond quickly to the needs of the businesses who fund the organization. That autonomy allows the DBIA to act responsibly, transparently, and collaboratively, and to continue being a constructive and reliable partner to the city. In my time on the board, I've seen a downtown that is evolving, becoming more vibrant, more innovative, and more resilient. And I've seen a DBIA that is stronger, more accountable, and more focused on long-term planning. Continued support for this work ensures that we can keep contributing to the economic health and success of the core. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much. There could be some questions for you. Questions? Councillor Baldwin, please.
Yeah, I should have asked this sooner, Your Worship, but I'll ask Alexandra. Alexandra, the $150,000 payment that I understand from reading the bylaw, um, it's an in and out kind of transaction. And I'm wondering with those funds still being there, they're not affecting the $150,000 as I read it, going in from one account to the other or through the DBA back to the city. If there's no funds lost and they're still available to your organization, how does that impact your autonomy? I'm just trying to get a sense of if you still have access to the full $150,000 fund, how does that negate your autonomy? I'm just having a hard time understanding that.
Alexandra, please.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Paul. Mayor Leo, may I bring Nor back up to answer that question with more
That's
accuracy?
fair. Yeah, very much so. Nor, please.
Thank you. So when the fund doesn't sit in our bank account and it sits in a different account, we can't show that we have it. And I was told we have to ask for permission from the city on how to administer this fund. And so that this way, I think, no offense to anyone, governments move a lot slower than business.
So through your worship, Nur, not to break any confidentiality here, but can you tell me who gave you that information? Was it somebody from senior staff? Was it our staff? Was it Mr. Freeman? Who told you that information that you couldn't access it almost immediately?
Nor, please.
Thank you. It was the 3 people I met with on Tuesday.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you, your worship. Thank you, Nur.
Thank you.
Nor, if I could just get some clarity here too, Councillor Baldwin's question intrigues me a bit. This money you need in your account, for want of a better term, provides kind of collateral when you're making applications to senior levels of government. Is that a kind of a fair way to look at this?
Yes, it is. We use that to show that we have funding to do matching fundings, but also in our accounts, if that money is not showing in our bank account, we can't prove that we have at least 500K in revenue to apply for certain funding.
And did I hear you correctly when you said that $500,000 is kind of the threshold level in order to sometimes make applications to the government of Ontario and the government of Canada? Is that?
Yes, thank you. And through you, yes, there are certain funding levels. So, so for Canada Summer Jobs, for instance, we don't need that. But for festival funding like Experience Ontario, and there's another one, sorry, the name is escaping me. Though festival fundings, we do require at least $500,000 to show that we're capable of organizing a large scale festival.
Appreciate your answers. Alexander, you want to go back there? There may be some questions for you still. Questions for Alexandra? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Nigel Lester, please. Nigel. Welcome, Nigel. If you could have your name and address for the public record, and you'll have 5 minutes, sir.
Wonderful, thank you. Nigel Lister, 414 Water Street. I'm here on behalf of myself as a concerned citizen and a member of the DBIA board. I think so much has been said that if I were in your chairs, it'd be a pretty easy decision. I know there's some things floating around here that might cause some uncertainty. I know one thing that is certain, that if this does pass, it will have eroded the trust that has been built between the two organizations. Had you come to me 4 years ago when I joined the DBIA board and said, what do you think? I'd probably be siding with the staff saying, you know, we're in a bit of a pickle, you know, things are coming out of COVID. It was tough. The relationships weren't really strong, maybe between some organizations, but now I think they are stronger than ever. I don't know. I haven't lived in Peterborough for long enough, 10-year now, 12 years now, but I haven't lived here long enough to see a better collaboration of the downtown and the DBIA. Right now, Noor and the team that they have on the board that we have assembled is fantastic, and you would be breaking a ton of momentum that they have going. I don't know if you know, whoever's kind of behind this and driving this as a, you know, a possibility of going through is someone who's of the downtown, but I can tell you everybody on that board is. We don't do anything unless we consider doing it in the downtown first, supporting the downtown first, what is best for the downtown. You have it in the experts' hands right now. Last year, beautification was taken out of the DBI's hands, and I believe since midsummer, we're still without garbage cans in the downtown. One example of agility and getting things done. They're the people out there. Some people behind me will come up to say they're the ones scooping the poop. You know, it's not city that's coming through to do it. It's the people leave it down there. They're scooping. They're breaking the ice. They're the first one shoveling. They're taking care of the downtown because they care. And it's not to say that the city doesn't care, but this is a complete erosion of trust. If you were to take this money away, again, even just the ability to apply for those grants that Noor was talking about, it's right there. How do you move forward with this, right? So you're talking about a levied community town in the downtown who has to pay taxes to this and utilize that money, and now they can't go after further money to do further programming, further initiatives, further things. So right there, you're just saying, okay, well, we just want to make do with what the businesses are paying. We don't want to give them access to more. So, you know, I think we've got a great council up here. You guys can make the decision. I know you'll make a good one here tonight, but I just want you to know that this is going to be a very, very big and tough bridge to build back, and it will erode a lot of the community's trust. I think the city, unfortunately, is wrong on this one. I know they're right on a lot, but hey, this one, I think they might have missed the mark. So if you have any questions, I don't need to say anything further. Everybody else has covered it.
Thanks very much, Nigel. There could be some questions for you. Questions for Nigel? Councillor Belvin, please.
Yeah, I'm up again, Your Worship. Nigel, thanks for being here. We're not on the golf course today, but that's probably a good thing.
Don't get me started. I'm in a depressive state.
Given the elements. So I'm pretty open-minded to hearing delegations, and it's important that we hear from folks. Where I'm still struggling with this is that my understanding of this is that 7 or 8 years ago, there was a settlement agreement in exchange for not having the casino put downtown. There was a payment and an agreement that was reached. And everything I read to date is saying that there will be no reduction in the $150,000. It is still going to the DBIA for security and beautification projects. So I'm trying to understand what the previous two speakers have said with respect to that $150,000 being part of being shown. So, Your Worship, just bear with me for a minute. I'm trying to bring it down to a personal level here.
Yep.
If I was going to co-sign a loan for my son, for example,
For a car.
for whatever,
What?
they would say to me, the financial institution would say, you know, do you own your home? Do you have any investments? Do you have any liabilities? What's your credit card? Blah, blah, blah. We would go through that financial disclosure per se. So I guess I'm just trying to grasp that. You have an ongoing account that's, you know, expenses, revenue in and revenue out. And then you're sitting with another account with $150,000 over here. Not in that one account, but you've got an operating account and $150,000 amount of money, and any reserves that you might not have spent. So to me, that 500,000 threshold that Noor has explained tonight and talked about would still be there. You've got an operating account, let's say it's got $360,000 in it, and another account over here at 150, that's 510,000. That's the practical example. Having those two accounts together in excess of $500,000, why can't the board then use those two accounts to apply for other funding? Because that's what I heard was happening. I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm just trying to understand what's prohibiting application for other grant opportunities when you have two accounts and together they're in excess of $500,000? That's the question, Your Worship.
Nigel,
So
please.
through the speaker to Mr. Baldwin, I would say if you have those two accounts, and I may defer halfway through to somebody who knows more about this, but I just wanted to say, if you have this account and, you have your own account, essentially this goes back to my first point of the degradation of trust, the erosion of
Your
trust.
support team is behind you.
Yeah,
I think
they're here.
They're good.
But I just want to say, essentially, what I'm hearing is mom and dad need to manage the funds of the DBIA. And we're adults and we know what we're doing. So we don't need mom and dad anymore. There was a time where maybe we need some co-signing, not anymore. And I'll defer to Noor if she has anything to add.
Noor, Sasha, please. Sasha.
So from a legal point of view, there is no ethical governance structure that allows a party who owes money to another party to say that we can take that money and do what we want with it, even though you're saying you're going to do it for that person. It's actually called a conflict of interest.
Noor, did you want to add something? Councillor Baldwin, continue. Are you?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm not following that train of thought necessarily. Why is it, through you, why is it a conflict of interest?
Sasha?
Because through you, Chair. So you are giving money that you owe, right, under this contract. You're supposed to take that money and give it to and trust it in the DBIA to do work. What you're saying is like, oh no, we are going to keep that money on your behalf. So even though you owe it, it's like an employee. If I went to my employee and said, hey, your salary doesn't change, your employment agreement doesn't change, but I'm going to keep the money in my bank account and I will spend it for you. I'm looking at you like that's not how you see it. What?
No, I'm just trying to, Sasha, I'm just respectfully, I'm just trying to follow the train of thought. I 100% get what Nigel's saying. I don't need big brother or big sister to look after my money. I can do it myself. That I understand.
But from a legal point of view, there is no ethical structure that allows that. They call that a conflict of interest. I can try and pull it up and send it to you after. I don't have it on me right now.
That's so fine. That's fine, Your Worship. I appreciate that. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the intricacies of that. I'll be the first one to admit, but thank you very much, Nigel. Those would be all my questions, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Councillor Chico, please, and then Councillor Crowley.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm really appreciating the delegations because each of you is bringing another slant to it that is really important for us to consider. And just to clarify, Nigel, so what you're saying is that it's gatekeeping that is informing this bylaw? Is that so? Is that how you're feeling? Is it a gatekeeping or oversight that's being imposed through this bylaw?
Nigel?
To the speaker, I just say again, it's just a lack of trust. I don't need to use any hot button terms or anything like that. I
Right.
get it. I know gatekeeping, but I think it's a lack of trust. You entrusted the community, the businesses in the downtown to elect a great board, and they did. And then we came in and made some changes, and we have a fantastic ED, and we are in the right direction. We have started cleaning our room and brushing our teeth and going to bed on time, and we're now getting in trouble, which is not one of those things you do.
Yeah.
You don't discipline good behavior.
Yeah, and thank you, and again, just through your worship. Thank you for distilling it so simply, and it certainly lands that way with me as well. And certainly, do you know of any other board, independent local board that this is being applied to? I'm not sure I do.
To my knowledge.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
No, it isn't, but a precedent would be set here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Councillor Crowley, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all three of you for being here. Sasha, I have to address what you said because I think I disagree strongly with it. Can you repeat what you said about this is a conflict of interest, and can you tell me how it's a conflict of interest?
Sasha, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. Thank you so much. So it's a conflict of interest because, and maybe like, if you go to any bank, you cannot, a bank, they do not have any kind of structure where if You owe, as a party, owe money to another person, can keep that money. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, like, I understand what you're saying. I do
Right.
understand what you're saying, but I think the relationship between the DBIA and the city is a little bit different because the city is a local, or sorry, the DBIA is a local board. And I think where I'm getting caught up a little bit is the fact that the Municipal Act explicitly states that the city can take, they can assume a power of a local board. So I think it's sort of dangerous to suggest that the city is in a conflict of interest or is doing something illegal, because as a matter of fact, it's very legal and we're very much allowed to do that.
So through you,
Sasha, please.
Chair, thank you for that. So technically, this agreement does not go through the Municipal Act. Right? This agreement is between three parties: the city, DBIA, and Aon. So the Municipal Act doesn't overrule or have any power over that agreement. So if you were to pass this bylaw, we can trigger the agreement to then say that this is a conflict of interest, what you're doing.
Councillor, I think we're getting into.
No,
a
I
debate
absolutely,
here
I
now.
absolutely
We'll-
agree, Chair.
we'll
And
leave
I
that to
absolutely
later.
appreciate that. And I wasn't trying to challenge you or debate you on that. I wanted just a little bit of clarification. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah,
Sasha.
and
Thank
through
you.
you, Chair, I generally do believe that council probably do not have the full picture and legalities of what this all entails. So I
Thank-
appreciate the
Thanks,
question.
Sasha.
Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Crowley? Councillor Burke, please.
Thank you, Mayor Leo. I'm taking a little bit of pleasure seeing Commissioner Potts get a little antsy over there. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff where
Let's get to the questions.
yeah, I meant that
Staff demeanor is staff demeanor. So let's.
yeah, just
let's move
just
forward.
very lightly, but I think that appreciate everything you're saying. While my support is unwavering, I'm definitely hearing a different presentation of the facts than how they were presented to us. And like Councillor Baldwin, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that this comes back to my previous point about how this news and how this decision was communicated to the DBIA. I think that it's very uncomfortable to have these discussions happen for the first time at a public meeting. I think it would have been much better to have these conversations done within the established relationships that the city has with the DBIA. I know the city has its policy and framework in terms of setting the agenda and when that becomes live. I get that. But I would have preferred as a councillor to be discussing this as both parties have been informed from where either side stands. And it feels like this is the first time for your side to present to us, which is a somewhat different way that it was presented from the city side. So I hope that if we make it through this, we can sort of push to have that more of a collaborative effort so that if there are any changes brewing, if there are any areas of the agreement that there's a different opinion about, we can sort of sort that out before it has to come to this. So it's more of a comment.
Nigel?
Through the speaker, I may just add to that as well. That's great. I couldn't agree more on that. And I think that's to Sasha's point. Let's take this partnership to the next level. You know, we really want to work with the city more than we have. I think, you know, leave the funds as in the trusted hands of the DBIA, and then we come back and we convene and we, you know, maybe this council gets behind forcing, you know, meetings between the two of us to get together, you know, make sure we're doing our homework, because I think that's, you know, what we would like and what everybody would like moving forward.
Any further questions for Nigel? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave Dam, please, Runner's Life. Dave, please. Dave, if we could have your name addressed for the public record, and you'll have 5 minutes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dave Dame from 399 Walton Street. I work and I live downtown. My store, Runner's Life, has been a business on Charlotte Street for 23 years. Here to ask you to vote against the proposed bylaw. I had a chance to walk around this afternoon and talk to my fellow downtown business owners. Just a short walk, and I was able to chat with 9 businesses. They're happy to lend their names to what I'm about to tell you. There's Tribal Voices, John Roberts Clothiers, Peterborough Photo, the Toy Shop. Thanks for supporting the Toy Shop. Soup's On, Gentry Apparel, McThirsty's, Cam's in the back here. Roscoe's Sporting Collectibles, and Providence. If any of you had talked to the downtown businesses, this is what you would have heard. There was 100% agreement that no one wants this. Not a single business I talked to supported your bylaw. In politics, you don't get 100% agreement. You should listen. Here's what I heard from these businesses. I heard everyone I asked, aren't they breaking an agreement? Who wants to do business with anyone who unilaterally breaks agreements? Uncertainty is bad for business. There's an agreement in place. Trying to loophole the agreement says to everyone that when dealing with the city, watch your back. If there's a pressing need for this bylaw, then it should be pretty easy to explain. I haven't heard it explained tonight. I don't know why we need this bylaw. Business is built on relationships and trust. By proposing this bylaw, you've damaged the relationship. By passing the bylaw, you'll destroy it. I heard this bylaw was conceived without DBIA or business consultation and in a shady closed session. None of you are downtown business owners, and I can't fathom why you'd want to make a decision without asking us. No one asked us. Everyone was dismayed at the timing. Proposing it during Black Friday, leading into the busy holiday shopping season. You know we all have better things to do than play politics. Consensus that this was on purpose, and again, shady. I heard from other business owners concerned over creating new bylaws, no minor issue. Apparently it's justified by saying nothing would change, which begs the questions, then why do it? Controlling the DBIA's budget is obviously a power grab that I can only imagine is a first step towards bringing the DBIA in-house. Again, no one wants this. I heard concern that this is the same playbook that happened with the economic development, tourism, streetscape, the zoo, etc. Everyone agreed all these things I just mentioned got worse when the city took them over. The city took over streetscape, basically garbage removal in the downtown core, and everyone agrees it's worse. It's much worse. I heard no one knows this council. They haven't been into the shops. They want to talk to you. Their doors are open. Before you make a decision on behalf of the people, you should ask the people. I heard frustration over limiting the delegates to 10 of us tonight when the arts community had over 30. There are many business owners behind me here tonight in solidarity that aren't being given a chance to speak. I hope I can give you an idea of what they'd say. I heard a lot of questions over what does the city want with 150 grand, basically a rounding error in the budget, but that's DBIA's money. I heard a lot of small businesses want more than anything autonomy. This is the exact opposite. It's another layer of bureaucracy, and no business owner wants bureaucracy. It's delays in decision making. I heard from other business owners an opportunity for you to show leadership. If you are representing the businesses and the people, then you should listen to what they tell you. This isn't what they want, and they'll remember it come the next election.
Thanks very much, Dave. There's some questions. Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Mayor Leo. Dave, in your remarks, you referenced that councillors don't visit and go downtown. You said that, sir. Do you have proof that we do not visit and shop downtown and speak to business owners?
So I was referencing the 9 businesses that I talked to this afternoon, and that's what I heard from the 9 businesses this afternoon. I'm not speaking for all downtown businesses. I'm speaking to the 9 that I talked to this afternoon. These are the businesses that happen to be within about a block of me. I just heard about this. I went out and I talked to a few of the businesses. Took me about an hour or two. Trying to get 5 minutes with these people around Christmas time is pretty hard. So no, I don't mean all businesses. I mean the ones that I heard from today.
Thank you, Your Worship. This isn't meant to be argumentative, but perhaps just to clarify that I know amongst this table, many of us frequent and shop and support downtown. So I think your characterization that we do not is unfair and is not factual. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm not trying to speak for all businesses, and I really hope to see you all downtown. business owners would love to see you all downtown. They all mention the same thing. They'd love a coffee, they'd love a lunch, they'd do it with you anytime.
Any further questions for Dave? Any further questions? Councillor Burke, please.
Just a comment, Mayor I'll also follow up. I think there's at least two of us that are downtown business owners. Yeah, I've been there downtown my whole life, and I also bought a pair of Saucony running shoes off you a few seasons ago. So
Appreciate it.
I understand the point though that you're trying to make, which is that to me that this bylaw is out of touch with what the business community is calling for, and that I take to heart. So thank you.
Appreciate it, and apologies for calling you not but downtown business owners.
And I can assure you, I go to two markets every Saturday morning, and the downtown farmers market is what I always go to every Saturday.
Appreciate that as well.
Not at all. Any further questions for Dave? Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
Tyrone Flowers, please. Tyrone? Could you have provide your name and address for the public record?
Tyrone Flowers, 165 Sherbrooke Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You have 5 minutes for your presentation.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tyrone Flowers. I'm the owner and operator of the Vine Restaurant in downtown Peterborough. I am here not only as a member of the DBIA today, but as a friend and a supporter. The DBIA does so many great things for the downtown community, whether it's putting on summer sidewalk sales, hosting festivals like Mac and Cheese Fest, two-time winner, just saying, or doing things like putting on the community movie nights and Pete's games in the park. Hosting festivals like all of that, the Holiday Passport program, which is also designed to get people out and supporting local shops, cafes and restaurants during the holiday season. With the introduction of the bylaw, I fear that we will lose many of these events and much, much more. The money that would be taken from, the money that you as council are trying to take away from them just isn't taking funding away from them, but also from the incredible community of business owners in the downtown core. What does it mean if we take away movie nights? Well, then food vendors and restaurants in the area will lose that revenue. What does it mean if we take away the sidewalk sales? I think we all know that that just means the businesses don't get the revenue there. Without things like that, I fear that our downtown core will die. There's already enough fear mongering going on about the downtown area. I own a business down there. I'm down there all the time. I don't see any issues. And a lot of that is because of the DBIA and all the hard work that they've done to help get it that way. Lost my place. Loss of funding would also impact things that the average citizen may not realize, such as beautification programs, bringing local artists in to do wonderful murals like the one on the side of the CIBC building down the street. If we lose these things, I am worried that we will lose businesses, which will lead to more unemployment down the line, which I'm sorry, I'm starting to get a little choked up here, which also will lead to potential unhoused programs, which is near and dear to my heart. Please don't vote for it.
Thank you very much, Tyrone. There's questions. Councillor Chico, please.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Chef, thank you very much for feeding me many times in your wonderful restaurant at the foot of Sherbrooke. You really bring people together, and your food is delicious. And, you know, as we look towards revitalizing our downtown and making it hum, of course, our DBIA will be the heart and soul of that. And clearly you've shared that with us. So really just a comment of thanks and a reminder of everything that the DBIA is to downtowners and to tourists that will be descending on our downtown, on our core in the summer months and in better days. Thank you very much for your delegation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Judith Richardson, 2 Middleton Drive, Peterborough, Ontario. And I'm here not as a member of the DBIA, not a small business owner, but I'm a heavy user of downtown. I refer to it as my downtown, which some of you know. and why supporting the DBIA strengthens our entire community. A thriving downtown is the heart of any successful community. It's where local culture emerges, where small businesses grow, and where residents and visitors can come together. In our city, the DBIA plays a central role in nurturing that vitality, yet its impact is often under-recognized. As City Council continues to navigate complex budget and policy decisions, renewed support for the DBIA is not only warranted, but essential, and here's why. A strong DBIA supports a strong local economy. Downtown businesses are disproportionately owned and operated by local residents. When the DBIA provides marketing initiatives, events, beautification projects, and business support, it directly contributes to stronger sales, greater foot traffic, and higher business retention. That success circulates back into the local economy, supporting jobs and generating revenue. Excuse me. The DBIA enhances public spaces for everyone. Whether it's seasonal decorations, improved lighting, streetscaping, or community events, the DBIA invests in shared spaces that benefit residents citywide. These small but meaningful improvements make downtown feel safer, more welcoming, and more connected. Collaboration leads to better decision-making. The DBIA provides City Council with a frontline perspective that only local business owners can offer. Their insights help guide planning, zoning, tourism strategy, and economic development decisions. A well-supported DBIA ensures the city has a clear, organized partner at the table. A vibrant downtown attracts residents, talent, and investment. Cities with busy, beautiful, and culturally rich downtowns draw new residents and businesses. By supporting the DBIA Council is investing in the long-term competitiveness of the city, ensuring we remain a destination for both economic opportunity and quality of life. Community identity depends on a strong core. Downtown is more than commercial district. It's where we celebrate holidays, enjoy festivals, share traditions, and connect with one another. The DBIA's work preserves that sense of identity and ensures that our downtown continues to reflect the character and values of our community. Moving forward together, supporting the DBIA is supporting the small business owners who take daily risks to build a vibrant city. It is supporting the local economy, tourism, arts, culture, and community life. As Council weighs future decisions, maintaining strong collaboration with and strong investments in the DBIA is one of the clearest paths to prosperous, inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judith. Good to see you again. There may be some questions for you. Questions for Judith? No questions. Thank you very much. Shannon Gray, please. Shannon, if we could have your name and address for the public record, you'll have 5 minutes for a presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Shannon Gray, 161 Sherbrooke Street. I'm the owner of Sugar Me Right. And I've been part of the downtown since 2017, but my connection goes further back with the district. When I first started my business, I rented a room at Pettigrew Spa in downtown. My first location was Park and King, and I moved to Charlotte Street after that, believing I'd be part of the DBIA. I later learned the boundary stopped 1 block before me, and even then I stayed. And when it came time to choose a permanent location, I intentionally moved again to Sherbrooke and George, specifically because I wanted to be a part of the DBIA. That wasn't a convenient choice. It wasn't an easy choice. I could have gone to Lansdowne, near the Parkway, where rent might be cheaper. Parking might be simple. My out-of-town customers might be able to reach me faster. But I chose downtown. I chose to invest in the core of the city. And that's what makes tonight's decision important. The DBIA plays a major role in keeping downtown active and visible. Their programming creates life here because they bring people downtown. They help us stay relevant in a time when downtowns across North America are struggling. And let's be honest, running a business downtown does come with realities you don't face in other areas. We deal with high operating costs, aging infrastructure, day-to-day pressures tied to homelessness, addiction, and mental health crisis. Many of us respond with compassion, but caring doesn't make it any easier. Stability does, partnership does, and that's what the DBIA provides, working towards a better downtown for Peterborough. When I hear that the city wants to assume financial authority that has belonged to the DBIA without advance consultation, I have to ask why. Why now, during one of the most difficult economic stresses for businesses that we have ever faced? Why would we add uncertainty to a district that needs stability more than ever? The DBIA has been transparent, responsible, and accountable with all of its dollars, and the programs that they provide aren't theoretical, they're real. I see their impact every day. They're part of why my business is here and not somewhere easier. If this bylaw passes, it makes future collaboration with small business harder. It shakes confidence and creates doubt. And worst of all, it sends a message to every small business owner trying to decide whether downtown is still worth the risk. Taking authority away without involving the people it affects is not collaboration, it's not partnership, and it's not the kind of relationship that supports a strong downtown. I want to add something important. The entire city is watching. Residents, businesses, investors, people deciding whether to open here, stay here, or leave. Your decision signals what kind of city council you intend to be. It's December 1st, and this is the season when the city usually shows support for small businesses. A vote for this bylaw sends a different message, and it won't be forgotten. You have a choice tonight about what kind of relationship you want with the businesses that anchor this city. And I'm asking you to choose partnership, choose stability, choose to support the people who have chosen downtown, sometimes at a cost, sometimes against convenience, but always because we believe in this core. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shannon. There could be some questions. Questions for Shannon? Thank you very much. Jacqueline Kraft, please. Jacqueline? Jacqueline, if we could have your name and address for the public record, you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Jacqueline Kraft. I am at 893 Westdale Ave, and I am the owner and operator of the Neighborhood Vintage. We're a vintage clothing store on Water Street. I am also a Peterborough born and raised resident. I grew up here. I have seen this city's downtown rise and fall as it does throughout the years. And I chose, just as the last delegate mentioned, I chose to set up my business downtown because I wanted to be in the core of the city. I knew the downtown, what it once was, and of course, what it could be again. I opened my business 3 years ago, and it's because I believe in our downtown and what it can be. I know that it can only begin its recovery and become that with the help and support of dedicated organizations like the DBIA. In my first 3 years of business, I have personally connected, collaborated, and been directly supported by the DBIA. I regularly am in communication and contact with the DBIA. Their employees, they're easily reachable. Go out for coffee, have a chat. They're kind of at the ready. Any questions that I have or anything that I need. From the beginning of starting my business, I started running outdoor markets in the courtyard space behind my shop on Water Street at Hunter. I run 5 markets per year, 4 in the summer, and a holiday market that is coming up this Friday, December 5th. You may have seen some posters around downtown. I'll come back to that in a moment. But I bring this up because not only do I tap into the DBIA and their funding with those markets, I also work with the First Friday organization on their volunteer committee. And together with the DBIA and their funding, we commissioned and we're able to manage, I don't know if you've seen the large scale outdoor public art installation on Water Street in the Scotiabank alleyway, that huge 2-story mural. That was us. That was First Friday with the DBIA's help. That project would not have gotten off the ground without that direct support from the DBIA. The DBIA supports small business not only with passion, promotion, and connection, but with direct action and tangible monetary support. They are incredibly agile and nimble. Like I said, I can reach them right away and get those small micro grants that make a huge difference for us with, different projects and events that we want to run in addition to the events that they put on. For the city to propose taking away these funds from the DBIA, it would not only be discouraging and, in my opinion, disingenuous, but it would the impact would be swift, severe, and overwhelmingly negative for small business. For small businesses like myself, for the downtown that so badly needs support, and for the city at large. As mentioned previously, this proposed bylaw is coming at a time when there is a renewed sense of optimism among downtown business owners, and that is largely due to the DBIA and its new leadership and the partnerships that they've been able to forge, and we're directly seeing that impact. I will urge you to reconsider passing this bylaw tonight, and I will give you one last plug to come out on Friday, December 5th, downtown. It's in the courtyard that you access beside Needles in the Hay on Water Street. And if you come out to the market, you can see firsthand the types of events that the DBIA is able to directly support. These are the types of events that might not be able to run without them being able to access it and have us access it right away. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks very much, Jacqueline. There could be some questions for you. Questions? Thank you very much. That concludes our delegations. The next item of business is the consent agenda. Item 5A, the recommendations for a general committee meeting of November 10, 2025, dealing with truth and reconciliation. Someone like to move that? Councillor Burt, second Councillor Chica. Comments or questions? Councillor Vasiliadis, please.
Just a quick comment. And I don't know is Shelley still here by chance?
Yes, she is.
Okay, good. I know. I was wondering.
Do you want her to come?
If possible, and I'm not sure if you can help me with this, but it does relate.
Bonjour, welcome, Shelley.
Yeah, it does relate to everything you help us with at City Hall. But way back when, the county and the township and First Nations became a part of something called the Community Economic Development Initiative, and what it is, it brings First Nation and it brings municipalities that surround them kind of together to deal with economic issues and problems. Now, I know back in 2022, the city made a motion for our staff to look into being a part of that. Now, have you heard any progress on that? I know, and this is where it's a little unfair in a way too, but I do know that it still lingers out there, but it's a great way for us to be connected and and it deals with economic development, but it's a good way. Is that something that maybe you can look into? I know maybe Daryl Julep could help you with that also, I would think. But I know that there's a connection with both economic development and the Indigenous component too.
Shelley, please.
Through you, Chair. I haven't had that discussion with Daryl yet, but Daryl and I have definitely talked about coming together and looking at providing those economic developments and how we can partner with the local First Nations. So I'll definitely get back to you on that.
That's great. No, I appreciate it. I know it's a few years ago, and so this is just I guess getting the conversation started again. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Burke, please.
Thank you, Mayor Leo, through you to Ms. McFarland. Jen, just quickly on this note, I was wondering, and also really moved by Shelley's report and the presentation of that report at budget time. I think it was budget time. Can we expect a similar report coming from our DEI advisor?
Ms. McFarland, please.
Through the chair, yes, we will, we'll explore what the calendar in the early new year looks like, and we'll get a report to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any further questions on this item? No further questions. We'll go to a vote. And that is carried. The next item of business is one that was subject to 10 delegations this evening. It's bylaw 25-126. Councillor Burke, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just think, I first just want to say off the cuff that I actually really appreciate hearing, I really appreciate that this has given us a chance to hear directly from local business. I think that's so important. So I just wanted to say that.
Councillor Burke, are you going to move something for debate?
Well, I mean, I don't want to move the report because I don't believe in it. But if someone wants to move it, I'll speak to where I stand on
You
the
can
vote.
move that the bylaw be not approved if.
Yeah, well, I think I see Councillor Duguay with his hand up to move it. I'll speak to it.
Okay. Councillor Duguay, you're moving it.
I would be pleased to do so.
Okay.
For
then go back
discussion
to Councillor
purposes, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think this is I think this whole thing becomes a little dangerous. I think someone will second it.
We need somebody to second it, get it on the floor. Okay, no? Are you going to second to get it on the floor? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Chair. I didn't have anything written down to say tonight on this, but like I said, I think that it's really important for us to hear directly from downtown businesses, and I really appreciate the people that have come tonight. I also think that reports like this are dangerous in how it sort of takes away from the good work that we're doing at the city. We heard about frustrations around garbage. This is actually something that we're very much hearing at our tables through a collaboration with the DBIA, through Commissioner Simonovsky being really open-minded and willing to visit sites downtown and get into really understanding what's going on and present to us as council with some immediate solutions to what's happening with the downtown infrastructure, while also building collaboratively long-term strategies. And I think that's really important to just note that that work is being done, and the danger in a move like this in getting in the way of the good things that have been happening. I will not support the bylaw, and I just have a question to, I really wish Daryl Julot was here tonight. I don't see him in the gallery. It's my understanding that Daryl is the staff go-between, the point person at the city that deals directly with the DBIA. So one of my questions tonight was for Daryl to see where he stood on this initiative. Well, that's fine. I don't have a question for Blair. Thank you, appreciate that. But so not only do I not support the bylaw, I take some concern in the way that all of this has been communicated with the public and especially with the DBIA and the board. And I think that, like I said in my remarks with the delegates, I think that it makes for us being in a really uncomfortable position tonight where there are some differences in understanding the two sides of what's going on here. And I think it would have benefited all of us if those conversations about what was happening, what will the impacts be, what is the impetus for staff to present this to us. I think that those conversations should have been done prior to council looking at this or deciding on this. So I guess my question would be to CAO Reyna, who are the staff people that communicated this decision to the DBIA, and why was there not given an opportunity for the DBIA to have a real meeting with people at the city to help them understand where this is coming from, what the impacts would be, even to answer the question from the delegates is like, why do we feel like that we have the authority to do this in the first place when there's a clear difference of opinion? So those are the questions I have.
Mr. Rena, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. I three staff members, which was Darrell and Rob McCarthy and our director of public works, Cassandra. They had a virtual meeting with the DPI. That's okay. I thought I'm speaking pretty good, so thank you for correcting. So they met they had a virtual meeting. So it's my understanding that this was I will before I go into the details, I also want to pass it want to defer it to because I was during this discussions once the council approved uh, the 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 report, which was unanimously approved by the council, and then this bylaw was written, and I think it's the way twice it came to the SLT and we discussed it, and that's the time we were still into the debate like what we want to do. So at no point there was intention that there is going to be a surprise, and that's why when we after our deliberate discussions when we decided that oh finally we have a draft here, and that's the time when we told the Darrell Joubert and all the directors because that's the intention, because that's the level of collaboration we wanted to have, that you can have a conversation at that time. It's just because of the time and the report time. It was that was the reason.
I think Mr. Potts wants to add. Mr. Potts, did you?
If your worship wishes it, I could.
Sorry?
If your worship wishes it, I could supplement. I think there's a specific question about why information was kept confidential. Of course, as council knows, reports LS OCS 24-008 and the more recent LS OCS 25-018. Although the result has been publicly published, as CEO Reyna has indicated, council unanimously approved the recommendation in the report. That's the reason why the bylaw is on the agenda this evening. And other than that, I've other than speaking to what the bylaw on the agenda does and what it doesn't do, and of course we've shared information with council about that before tonight's meeting. I could clarify if that's of help to council. I will say, your worship, that there's been a lot of information. I think a lot of information that has been upsetting. If I've listened to the delegations correctly, but some of that information is not fully accurate or it's not complete. I would not normally recommend waiver of solicitor-client privilege on those two reports as a matter of course. I don't think it's necessary because I think the forward-looking approach to which staff would refer if they're asked questions this evening is more relevant, but there is a gap in terms of the facts as they've been presented and acts as they actually are. And I think in fairness to the delegates, some of them might have been responding to either an incomplete or inaccurate version of the facts.
Councillor Burke, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Leo, but this is the very reason why I brought this up, because it seems to me like we're at an impasse. And I'm not asking for our staff to have a conversation that breaks client and solicitor privileged information. What I'm saying is that if there was a council decision made and a bylaw being drafted, obviously from the delegates, there were many unanswered questions that were left. And I think that we have to take this to heart. We have to learn from this. There are times when we need to hold our cards close to the chest. And there are certain aspects of the agreement that maybe staff believe that should still be held close to the chest. But it's clear to me tonight that there are certain elements of this plan and the rationale for it and the outcome of it that should have been better communicated with the people that it was affecting. Because, at the end of the day, this is the way that it was communicated in a bylaw that has some very strict implications and leaves a lot of people that are really, yeah, sure. Thank you. The way that this came out publicly, it didn't make my job easier all weekend, taking calls from people in the downtown and listening to them. And we still seem to be at an impasse around really understanding the mechanisms of what's being proposed here. And it shouldn't fall on us as councillors to be the one to bridge that gap, or it shouldn't fall on business owners to come to a council meeting at 6:30 at night to bridge that gap. There is a collaborative way that the city and the DBIA works together. And that is the mechanism, I believe, in which some of the details that there are discrepancies about should have been flattened, there should have been some coming together and some discussions around that. I love our downtown. I am moved by the amount of people that have contacted me, telling me what a support to them that the DBIA has been. And you know what? I'm here tonight to represent my constituents, to represent the place where I go to work every day downtown, and to represent the place where I live. And I will be voting against this bylaw. And I think the public has raised the question that I would ask all of you. If this bylaw is not changing anything, then why are we doing it? Thank you.
Just to let you know, we're on the speaking list. Councillor Riel, Duguay, Vasiliadis, La Chica, Crowley, Hickey. Councillor Riel, please.
Through the chair, first, as a former business owner in the downtown, I've had 2 businesses in the downtown. When I was 23 years old, I had a bar downtown called the Rec Room in the bottom of the Empress Hotel, which I had for 5.5 years. My former wife and I had a gift store on George Street at 185.5 George Street North called the Green Door for a number of years. So, and I was a DBIA member back then. So I have a soft spot for the downtown. I'm in the downtown several times during the week, and I do business down there, and I try to support the downtown. I also was on this council when this deal come to fruition. There was a lot of hard feelings around the makeup of this deal, and certainly the $150,000. And that had to do with the casino being built where it is in its present form. Having said that, and if you were a business person, and certainly that, when you make a deal, you live by the deal, plain and simple. I may not have liked the deal when it was made, but it's there and it's in force. For what's happening tonight, and I've given a lot of thought on it, certainly I am not going to support this bylaw because we have a deal. I've listened to the people tonight here that are saying that they're in the throes of rebuilding the DBIA and making it a working entity for the downtown. And I have hope that they're going to do that. I think that there's a need for a DBIA. There's a need for a VBIA in East City where I am right now. And I think they play an integral part. I think they're on the cusp of doing some really great things. And to take the $150,000 away from them shortchanges them for doing their job. And that is the promotion of the downtown. Yes, maybe some things, you know, in bygone years, and certainly I've sat on council for 15 years, and maybe the former executive directors didn't really bode well for what the vision was for the downtown, or we were at odds several times. But we don't have those people anymore. We have a new ED, and we have the combination of a new board. I would like to give them the support and the money that they need to do their job. If there needs to be dialogue between the DBIA and the city of how the downtown is going to function, I don't think that's taken place. I see what's happening here tonight, the cart before the horse. If we have some problems, and this is, I'm talking about council and certainly senior staff, if we have some problems with how the business is being conducted by the DBIA in downtown, then let's get together and talk about that. That's what you do in a partnership. What I see here is a partnership breaking apart. There is an absolute need for a DBIA. They play an integral role in the downtown, and what happens here tonight, if this bylaw was to pass, is going to be shortchanging them at the end of the DBIA in the downtown. Thank you very much.
Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the benefit of our delegates and those listening, I want to clarify, because I've moved the motion doesn't necessarily mean I support the bylaw. Because we could have been here all night waiting for somebody to introduce the motion. I also wanted to clarify that, like many here, I have opportunity together with my wife and friends, and frequent and shop at the downtown regularly. I've been doing that since I started with the city in 1989. What is regrettable, though, is the most peculiar and unusual settlement agreement that arose through the Ontario Municipal Board pertaining to, at the time, a concern of a suburban located casino. And as a rising from that, there is this agreement, what has, in my professional opinion and my experience in planning world, I've never seen language like it. And I deal with several settlement agreements dealing with land use dispute. Now, I have um, I have reviewed all the emails, all the communications. I, in fact, went back and read some of the material on the original agreement to the extent possible through the municipal board and other records. And what appears to have been the intent at the time was to ensure there was a fear and concern at the time that there would be a financial impact from the casino and its impacts upon the downtown. And arising from that were certain clauses within the settlement agreement, one of which is $150,000 being assigned for from the municipality to the DBIA for the purposes of the beautification and security related measures in our downtown. Now, it is regrettable, Your Worship, and to those that are here this evening, that we have an agreement that has this most awkward clause. Because ideally, we'd have a partnership where we wouldn't need the agreement to say that the city would willingly provide adequate funding to ensure that beautification and security measures are achieved in our downtown. Now, I also wanted to Your Worship, to in my recent role assisting or with economic development, I attempt wherever possible to attend some of your morning meetings, which are held in collaboration with the chamber, and it's a good opportunity to meet and hear from business owners. Your Worship, with all this in mind, in consideration of what we've heard this evening, and I have to compliment the DBIA for the good work that's occurring, because frankly, prior to some of the recent changes in board management and prior to some of our staff, we were not necessarily enjoying a comfortable working relationship with the city. And I think that's obvious to many in here. And I'm not afraid to say it, but and that's not a discredit to the businesses and persons that are involved, but there has been a change. And frankly, Your Worship, it's been for the betterment of our downtown. And with that in mind, and I certainly wouldn't be looking forward to going to the Christmas tree lighting on Friday if you had a negative decision. And I think Mr. Lister, in his commentary, in his way of bringing it down into terms that we'd understand, is this notion about the bank accounts. We need to entrust. I feel comfortable that we can entrust the DBI to continue with the wise and prudent use of the monies that are required through the settlement agreement. I want to, though, acknowledge the good efforts of Commissioner Potts and the right. I understood why he was trying to write this bylaw, and I don't often disagree with Mr. Commissioner Potts. I don't think I ever have disagreed with in this forum, but I am prepared to allow the agreement as written to continue. It's regrettable it was written in the first place, the manner it was written. And we also, to my colleagues, just imagine, folks, if things went wrong and things changed, we could revisit this. We could revisit this bylaw if we ever had to in the future, but I'm not certain that will be the case. So with this in mind, Your Worship, I would not be voting in support of the bylaw as presented. Thank you.
Councillor Dickey, Councillor Faciliatis, please. And then La Chica, Crowley, Agi.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you.
Faciliatis.
I just have some comments, and it's great to see so many, local business owners in the gallery. And I don't think I've seen so many business owners in the gallery. And, I talked to fellow councilors during the budget time, and we say, you don't see a lot from the business community during the budget. And I guess my answer to that is that they're busy. They're out problem solving, and I don't know many business owners that really come to the city to solve a problem for them. They solve the problem themselves. So they just don't have that kind of time, right? So, and I also know that, as a business owner and business owners, you don't really lift your head up from running your business unless something's important, and when I see people in the gallery, this is clearly important to them. So, as a city, I don't know if we really do a lot for small businesses. And, when I look at the website for the DBIA, we're listed as a partner, the city of Peterborough. And so I take that pretty serious that we are a partner with the DBIA and local businesses. And, I often say that, as a city, we don't create jobs, but we create an environment where businesses can thrive. And so, when I look at this, we can't do that in the downtown area without the DBIA, because again, we're not in the business of doing that, right? But we're in the partnership with the DBIA. They're the ones with the face-to-face interaction with the businesses, and that's what really kind of matters with everything when you're trying to understand what a local business needs. So the city really doesn't do that, and when I look at $150,000, it really isn't a lot of money nowadays. And it's a lot less than it was in 2017 when we first started, or when the casino started giving the money to the DBIA. And, when I look back in 2017, I believe there was 400 businesses within the boundaries. Now there's 600 businesses. So again, it's in a way, it's, you're trying to help that many more businesses with that money. So I'm looking at it as something that it's the least we could do is give the 150,000. And I think when I look at the events that the DBIA run, events are very underrated on organizing them when it comes to getting people to show up. But if you can get a few hundred people to show up to an event, or a few thousand, that's a good thing for businesses. If those people go in and to a retail store, buy something, or have a meal, that's a good thing. But I have to say, sometimes being a self-employed person can be very lonely. And so you look at a organization like the DBIA, and it can really feel, really feel less lonely, and kind of knowing that they're there to help you out too. So I think at the end of the day, I'm looking at this, that I see a lot of momentum that the DBIA has created. And if I can go back to what Nigel said, when he first came to the DBIA board, he would say, he would think, well, maybe the city should take the money back, but those days are long gone, right? That we have momentum, and and I don't really want to stop that. I think that we want to be good partners. We want to help businesses thrive. And so for those reasons, I'll be voting against the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vasiliadis. Councillor LaChica, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I've expressed how I feel about this bylaw, but I just want to make a couple of comments based on our debate. I find it a little bit problematic to rationalize this particular bylaw that we're seeing in this agenda, just come out a few days ago, that it's coming forward as it is based on something that council unanimously decided upon or wanted. In a closed session, I find that anything that we're talking about that relates to closed session, there's a context to that which is unavailable and is unspoken. So when we're talking about what the results were of a vote, and we don't have the context of what kind of legal information was shared or discussed, I think it's problematic to point the finger at council for being the reason that this has come forward, because it certainly does not reflect what I agree with or what I would have expected when I opened this particular agenda and saw what was here. In fact, we're not to be voting in closed session on items that are enclosed, and that's how we run things. So I hope that we can avoid discussions of that nature in the future. There is a conundrum that's been conveyed in the information that's been floating in these last few days, and that this doesn't change anything is the argument. And in my opinion, this bylaw changes everything. And what it changes is that arm's length boards need the trust and the jurisdiction they've been granted for the purpose and the expertise they have and offer. And that is to support the specific needs and vision of their members. They build relationships with their members. They talk day by day to members and know what their needs and vision of the membership is in order to use the money wisely and meet the priorities of a thriving business district. So to begin doing this with our local boards is autocratic, and it is not trusting, and it is not relationship building with our local boards. Do we do it with Green Up? Do we do it with Showplace? Do we do it with any other local board? Are we going to do it with EC3? Absolutely not, because arm's length local boards serve a purpose, and that purpose is that our city does not have the scope or expertise or bandwidth to be able to provide all that these organizations and local boards do. So I feel so strongly in my support of this downtown. I live downtown so I can be close to these businesses, so I can do all my shopping in them and build the relationships. I went to visit Shelby about a year ago when there was no sidewalk sale happening and there were so many obstacles. And how swiftly Nor was able to make that happen. And then it's become a regular routine, and it's been something that's really uplifted our downtown businesses. We need this. We need more of it if we're going to revitalize our downtown. I stand strongly opposed to this bylaw, and I thank you, Chair, for allowing me the time to speak to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crowley. Before I go to you, I'm going to Commissioner Potts. Mr. Potts, please.
Your Worship, and I was probably anticipating a question to this effect, but thank you for asking. I think that in these circumstances, council's interests would be served by waiving solicitor-client privilege on the two reports. And there has been a statement that's been made that, again, the concern, and just if I may return to Councillor DeGay's comment about disagreeing with Mr. Potts, this is not about agreeing or disagreeing with any staff member, including your legal advisor. Staff have a role, which is to research and to advise, not to debate, not to agree or disagree with. Council has a challenging role of balancing competing interests. And in the process that gets to that, I'm speaking of governance, legal governance of municipal corporations, which is something I'm certified as a specialist in. The process of getting to a decision involves balancing competing interests, but hopefully it involves an accurate understanding of the facts as they've been represented. And I recommend, I think it's in council's interest that a councillor make a motion to waive solicitor-client privilege on those two reports, and then I can respond more specifically.
I need someone to move that. Councillor Baldwin, second Councillor Duguay. My understanding is that's not debatable. We'll go to the question to waive council solicitor privilege. Go to a vote on that. Could we get that queued up, Madam Clerk, please? Gary, Mr. Potts, floor is yours.
To the specific point that's been raised that about, I think that it was a reference to pointing the finger at council for a bylaw appearing on this evening's agenda. The bylaw would not have appeared on this evening's agenda but for council's unanimous approval of the recommendation report LSOCS 25-018, which I will read. Recommended direction. It is recommended that council pass a bylaw respecting the payments by the city pursuant to the settlement agreement in the form of bylaw comprising Appendix D to the 2024 report. And of course, the 2025 report conveyed the 2024 report. I don't think it's necessary, if I may suggest this, for council to get into all of the detail about what led to the 2024 report. It will suffice to say, in the review of the then pending budget, the line item was identified. There was some discussion about it. I researched, of course, this settlement occurred before I was appointed by council in 2018 as city solicitor and came back to Peterborough. I was concerned about the circumstances that have been mentioned. Council knows about the concerns because there have been fulsome discussions about the two reports in camera.
But do you have a question for us?
No, I don't.
Come on back on the speakers.
Put me back on the speakers
Okay,
list.
that's fine. Just want to make sure that everybody's treated fairly. Councillor
okay.
Crowley, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just get out of the way that I'm not going to support the bylaw, but I've been defending this. Well, I want to say defending this all week. I'll say explaining this all week because I understand, based on what Councilor or Commissioner Potts just said, I understand why it's coming to council. I understand the motivations behind it. It was designed to be a closing the loop. It was designed to have accountability and transparency. It was designed to have some assurances that taxpayer funding was being handled responsibly by a local board. And I do understand all of that. And I have been telling people it's not reducing the funding, which it's not. We're not taking anything away. If council wanted to reduce the DBIA's budget, we would have done it a few weeks ago when we met for budget meetings. If we wanted to dissolve the DBIA to save ourselves X amount of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to put back on the tax levy, we would have. We have economic development in-house. We, as some people have said, we have tourism in-house. We have the items in-house to do the job the DBIA does. The difference is the DBIA are the subject matter experts. These people are working constantly and consistently with the downtown businesses. I think the problem is that once we see the bylaw, once we try to wrap our heads around how it's going to be executed. I had a great conversation with Noor on Friday night, and she posited a couple of questions to me that I simply couldn't answer, that I wasn't sure of. And after sort of talking to other councillors regarding communication with staff, it does seem like I think that it was one of the delegates mentioned that it did seem a little bit like, while I understand it's not like this to the businesses downtown, it feels a little bit like an adult hanging on to the allowance money for their child and telling them how they can spend it. And I think that there's again, a conversation I had with Noor, it does seem like it adds a lot of layers of red tape to something that they have the ability to do audits. They do audits every year. They provide that information. If that information needs to be fine-tuned or more granular, then certainly we should be able to work with the DBIA to make that happen. But I think in its current state, the way that the speed with which that funding can be accessed, it could potentially compromise some aspects of the DBIA's ability to provide the services that they require downtown. So it's a long way of saying that I'm not supporting it, but I'm sure that there is something that we can do to work collaboratively with the DBIA to ensure that everybody's on the same page and happy. So thank you, Chair.
Councillor Chica for a second time.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I do thank Commissioner Potts for sharing reflecting on and sharing his view and the facts as he sees them. I just would like to make a point that politics and our position on policies when we're sitting in a closed session room is very much a dynamic scenario. And when we receive information and information that is finite and within the confines of that one room, you know, we leave in our lives as politicians and we do our research. And some of us have only been in our positions for one term, and that decision when that agreement was made was prior to our term, so it's part of our homework as elected officials in this term to find out what exactly happened back then. And so I've done some digging and I've done some research that made me feel very strongly and deeply about my understanding of what was transacted and why it was transacted the way it was. And I fully respect why that agreement was made. And it is agreement that stands alone because it was due to the Downtown Business Improvement Association because of how something was done at that time that required that payment. So that is why it was negotiated the way it was, and it was for a very good reason. So I deeply understand now and respect because of my own research about why that was, which is very different from when we have that closed session meeting, when I feel it was quite a superficial or just a very immediate and, you know, boom, 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 new information coming forward that I needed to dig deeper in. So that's where I stand today, and I don't think that what's being brought forward is reflective of what our community needs, or nor does it reflect the trust that we need to be building with an organization that is doing good work for our business community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Duque, for a second time.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Commissioner Potts. I may have, sir, in my phraseology, used the wrong phrase. But what I attempted to say is advice and information arising from your office, I listen to, consider in detail. But in this case, the recommendation of a report, I'm not necessarily in support of that recommendation. So again, I apologize for the terminologies. I have a question of Commissioner Simonovsky. Am I allowed to do that now?
Absolutely.
Commissioner, the relationship, just we've heard about garbage cans, for example, not being in our down. I'm also aware that tree guards, several of them that were broken and busted, were removed. And frankly, they were unsightly. They really weren't serving any purpose. So the latter is an example of beautification. The former is something that is being addressed. So, sir, can you advise, because that was a question raised, garbage collection downtown, does that dialogue continuing ongoing with the DBIA and your division, sir, your commission?
Commissioner Szymanowski, please.
Certainly through you, Mr. Chair. Starting at the city around the same time as Noor came on as a DBA representative, I've been working with her through our department, identifying opportunities and trying to find ways to collaborate. And definitely in the last few months with some of the initiatives that we've been forcing through some cleanup downtown, it has been in collaboration with the DBIA and also consultation.
Your Worship, if I can, I have one supplementary question.
Proceed, Councillor Duque.
Commissioner Szymanowski. So thus, this collaboration, this partnership, sir, would you consider it to be the very same that many of the speakers were asking for, or at least anticipating would be positive? In other words, would the city, you as being one of the leads around beautification, would continue to work with the DBIA, their board and their executive director?
Mr. Szymanowski, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the public works functions are one small part of the DBIA beautification. Within our realm of responsibility, definitely we are working with and listening to the DBA through the membership and trying to do the best we can to bring up the city for sure.
Your Worship, I think this, because it is something that is it's tangible, something we can see. The condition of sidewalk, like our garbage collection and trees. And I know Commissioner Simonoski and I have met and we've discussed this very matter, and he shared with me some of the early thinking about what could be done insofar as beautification. And I've certainly seen some of that work already undertaken. I think it's indicative of one of the forms of collaboration that is happening, could continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duguay. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Baldwin, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I mean, you can certainly read the tea leaves around the council chambers, and I do appreciate the delegates who came tonight. What I struggle with the agreement, I was like Councillor Riel, I was on council from 2014 to 2018, and I didn't like the settlement agreement then. I dislike it even more today. It was the wrong decision. There were some strong words used back in those days about how some of the councillors who here reviewed that payment. I think they've been uttered in the council chambers before. I'm not going to repeat it. Those of you who were here experienced it. We didn't have to do research. We were actually here. I think Councillor Riel, my colleague, referred to that earlier in his comments. No one around the table.
Order.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, I feel that the way that this is being reflected is disparaging of me having made the comment that some of us didn't have to do our research. There's a tone of sarcasm, and I really feel that that's something that I can't change, that I was not on council at that time, and I find it insulting to say that having the privilege of being on council previously is somehow supersedes someone having to dig deeper because they weren't here. I just think it's subtly disparaging, and I don't appreciate it. There are different opinions, but we can still speak respectfully about how other councillors' opinions are rendered. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Point of order. Councillor Baldwin, you have the floor.
Your Worship, this is the second time I've been interrupted. And I think the person that has just said that is making an
Yes.
This is procedural, that if there's a disparaging remark made about another councillor, that you can call for a point of order, so that there's nothing about interrupting the councillor that I have done. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Other speakers on this? Other speakers? Mr. Friedman, could I just get a point? I wasn't here when this decision was made. I was at another level of government. But my understanding, this agreement was put in place to avoid an OMB hearing. Essentially, Peterborough's official plan stated that if you were going to have a casino, it was going to be located in the downtown. It didn't get located downtown. It was put on the periphery. There was a hotel that was built by the new casino. And there were two elements of this agreement, as I understand it. A would be the $150,000 per year to go to the DBIA to help with their activities. And the second part of that was to do a hotel commercial study on a 5-year basis to upgrade to see if there was any impact of a hotel being built beside a casino and taking business away from the downtown. Is that essentially what the agreement was about?
Your Worship, I certainly would concur with your earlier comments about related to the 150,000. Of course, the agreement ultimately was that the 150 was to go towards specifically security and promotion of the downtown, and so that is what the monies are to be spent towards, as per paragraph 3 of the agreement. I can't speak specifically actually to your second comment about the hotel study. I certainly know that there is conversations of late, and I think there was an initiative in the 2026 budget that actually referred to doing a study about a convention center and so on in the downtown. But certainly the 150, absolutely.
Mr. Freeman, the arguments of the day were essentially if the casino goes to the periphery, it would draw a lot of business to that area. and that we had to reinvest the downtown to kind of equal the equation at the time. Is that a good way of looking at it?
I think that's a good way of looking at it, Your Worship.
Councillor Baldwin, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try and continue. Question for Commissioner Potts. David, the direction that was given to you by council, I'm just wondering if you might be able to clarify for the audience and for the delegates here, with respect to the $150,000 payment, as the bylaws drafted, that money would remain with the DBIA. Is that correct?
Spots, please.
There's as Your Worship, there's an email that I sent to council last Thursday that outlines the key points about what the bylaw does and what it doesn't do. And I think the point's been touched on. There've been a lot of comments about the, withholding the settlement proceeds. The bylaw doesn't do that. Of course, settlement proceeds appear in page 273 of the budget, which is the DBIA budget. The bylaw would put the city into the shoes of the DBIA to the extent of the $150,000, both in terms of the right to receive it, but the corresponding obligation to spend it pursuant to the settlement agreement. So one might, and I think Councillor Burke asked the question, so basically to the extent of, so what's the point? Well, the point, I think there are several points, but I think probably the key point goes back to a governance issue, transparency and governance. I think as it currently stands, I'll defer to Mr. Freeman, the council on behalf of taxpayers does not have line of sight into the specifics of how the $150,000 is spent. And after I'm finished, I'll defer to Mr. Freeman for any additional comments. Why is that important? Well, the DBIA, of course, is accountable to its members. The DBIA in the usual course is funded under the Municipal Act, Section 205, I believe, by a levy that's raised from the members. So the line of accountability exists. One of the reasons for the bylaw was recognize what happened back in 2017. And there became a misalignment because council is accountable to all taxpayers who are being asked to fund the additional $150,000. So, I mean, an alternative for accountability purposes would be if additional funds are required, that there be an increase in the levy on the members. But taxpayers generally are being asked, and so that was the deal that was made. So the bylaw would put council in the position of being involved with a line of sight in terms of those expenditures. And I'll defer to Mr. Freeman, but I don't think that level of detail from the audit has been provided to the city to date.
Thank you, Your Worship. And in the comments made by one of the delegates this evening, there was comments made to the audited financial statements, and I had to just pull them up and read through them myself in the last few minutes to just refresh myself with what actually is recorded in the audited financial statements related to the settlement. And it does, the financial statements do acknowledge that the 150,000 is received by the DBA from the city. With relation to how the funds are spent, the settlement agreement refers to the fact that it's to be spent on security and promotion of the downtown. I'll give you an example. In 2024's audited financial statements, the word security does not appear, and promotion of the downtown was spent $39,209. That's what the 2024 financial statements say. Thank you, Your Worship.
Continue, Councillor Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank Commissioner Potts for that distinction. The members, traditionally, the members of the DBIA fund the DBIA through a levy. But those of us who are sitting around the council chamber, Your Worship, are accountable for all taxpayer money. And I think that the drafting of the bylaw was a way in which Commissioner Potts was able to explain to council members the differences between the settlement back when it was constructed or when it was consummated to where we have it today. So I think, Your Worship, what Commissioner Potts had said is good information for everybody to have.
So here's your second five.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I don't know whether Commissioner Potts will answer this question, but in the spirit of transparency, I'm going to ask Commissioner Potts, or sorry, I'm trying to say Councillor, but Commissioner Potts, and respectfully, if you don't want to answer this, I completely understand. But had you been the city solicitor at the time of this agreement, would you have recommended to council that we A, sign that agreement, and B, construct it the way it turned out?
As I recall, and of course, council's waived solicitor-client privilege on that report now. I think I have professional obligations to other legal counsel. Okay, I'll start with that. I think that I inferred from what I saw and what I didn't see when I did the research and went back, because I too was not here in 2017. The council was up against it. The Ontario Municipal Board did not have the jurisdiction to impose a $3 million settlement obligation on the city. And the city agreed to it. And there didn't seem to be any information about why $3 million was being imposed on the city, except the proceeding itself. And there's no evidence that the Ontario Municipal Board turned its mind to the merits of the case. It was settled even before a pre-hearing conference, from what I can glean. And so I think, if I recall, my 2024 report says one can infer basically that the council was up against it. It was a payment that the proceeding itself was going to occasion delay that would defeat council's decision to locate the new casino in the south end of Peterborough. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Potts. And Your Worship, I think those will conclude my comments. Thank you very much.
Councillor Purnell, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I'm wondering, well, first of all, I'll say that Nora has sent all of us an email outlining how the $150,000 was spent. And it's significant. Many of the activities were mentioned during the delegations, and all $150,000 does seem to be for the betterment of mostly promotion, I would say, in downtown and events. And I can tell you, I personally appreciate the work that the DBIA has done in animating our new Quaker Food Square. Those are incredible. They are bringing people downtown. So I do see the value and respect the way that they are using this money, even though I didn't like the original settlement either. We have new leadership team, and I do see some quality work here. My question through you, Your Worship, is this list that Nora has provided to us, is that something we could request each year as part of the audited statements, maybe to Commissioner Freeman? Is that something we could request?
Mr. Freeman, please.
Certainly, Your Worship, I can take that feedback and request that the auditors provide additional details in the audited financial statements that would give visibility to where the 150 is being spent.
Thank you. I think that would provide a good layer of comfort and transparency that we seem to be looking for here. So thank you. If you would please follow up on that, Commissioner, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Brown. Any further speakers on this? We'll go to a vote. And that bylaw is defeated. The next item of business is a confirmation bylaw, 25-127. Someone like to move that? Councillor Vasiliadis, Councillor Crowley, we'll go to a vote. And that's carried. Someone move motion to adjourn. Councillor Crowley, Councillor Beamer. We'll go to a vote. We are adjourned. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, staff. Thank you, audience. We'll have a 5-minute